Okay, so let's jump right into it. Maybe I'll just kind of get you to introduce yourself to anybody that's going to be listening. Who you are, what you do, and a little bit of background.
Oh, I'll try to give everyone the short story because I feel like there's a lot, and I've just recently moved to Belleville within the last year, so I guess I'll start off with that. I'm not Belleville born by any means. I grew up in Cobourg, so not too far away from here. Small town,
Nice.
definitely always been community focused because of living in a small rural town. I understand how much connecting and creativity with locals and like how important it is to grow a town. So I'm Sky. I'm a designer and art director. I do illustration as well. Right now, I actually work full-time at ePort Realty in Belleville as the marketing coordinator there. Do a lot of CRM, social media, kind of advertising for listings. So that's kind of like my day job, as I would say it. And then on the side, which is kind of my passion and favorite thing to do, is I kind of run, or I've just started doing this side hustle. It's kind of brand new, so I shouldn't say run, but it's kind of like an illustrative, minimalistic style branding and design company. So I believe,
Nice.
especially the small businesses and entrepreneurs, that you can still have a very powerful brand, something that stands out and is unique, whether you're one
Absolutely.
employee or 50, right? So that's kind of where I go from there. But yeah, so I lived in Toronto, did the big city living for 5 years, worked in big advertising agencies, but I've moved back to the country because I've missed it so much. So that's where I am today.
That's phenomenal. And just for everybody listening too, just give the name of your design company.
Oh yes, that would be important. So right now I don't really have a direct website, mostly funneling out of Instagram, but it's Up High Design Co. And that's on Facebook and Instagram right now. And I do have a website. It's skyanderson.me if you want to reach out. That mostly has my advertising stuff on it right now, but under construction. Something I've been working on during this pandemic with the free time.
Nice. And I'm
Yeah.
so glad that you brought that up because that's something I definitely want to talk about. You've been doing something really, really cool lately around just kind of showcasing and showing, saluting the frontline workers during this COVID-19 pandemic. Talk a little bit about, what you're doing and where the inspiration came from to do that.
Yeah, definitely. It's been kind of a personal project. It's kind of, I saw this thing on, floating around on social media or online a long time ago, and it was like, our current superheroes don't wear capes. And it got me thinking,
Mm,
well, why not? Like, they should be, especially right now. Like, let's have fun with this. Let's give them some positivity and applause. Not just for the frontline workers, but for us, right? Like, we're saying a big thank you. They're going in every day just as stressed out, even more than we are. And again, my part of the inspiration was my partner going to the beer store every day. He's in Picton, and they're still getting customers that are, nasty and don't really understand the current situation that we're in. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to use my illustrative skills. I don't have a ton of money to donate to the hospital as much as I would love to. I can't go out and, volunteer right now because I work full time, but I can, donate my time and my skills. So kind of put up a
wow.
little campaign online, and I've got 4 people so far, and yeah, I draw little kinks on them and say a big thank you.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And like when this video is edited, like I'm gonna put up on the screen like what the images are, so just
Oh,
so people
great.
can see them because they're fantastic.
And Joanna, who's the first girl that volunteered, which thank you, Josh, you reached out, but she was so lovely and thankful, and she's been spreading it to a lot of her coworkers too, which have been not reaching out to send me photos, but just to say like, thank you so much. And then of course I respond saying, no, thank you. But it's been really nice to see, the community that's getting formed during this time.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, it's you know what it's cool too because like you talk about creativity and like, you know, this is what we do. Like, this is what we're super, super passionate about. And it's just really neat to see that come out in such a thoughtful and positive way during this time. So I just think it's phenomenal what you've been doing that way. So great work, great work.
Thank you. It's been fun, and I feel like I've been seeing a lot more creativity online since this pandemic, which is, you know, kind of one positive, which is one thing you have to look at during these stressful times as a positive outcome, is I think a lot more people are, you know, taking the dive into trying something new or trying to be creative. You know, those people that say, oh, I can only draw stick figures, but they're trying anyway, right? It's really nice because they have the time. And, you know, the knowledge and creativity is something that no one can ever take away from you. So you don't, it's kind of like you don't feel useless because people are doing those hobbies, whether you're laid off of work or sick right now. So it's kind of a beautiful thing that I've been seeing floating around recently.
Can we talk about that for something? Because you just brought something up like really, really cool. And I kind of want to focus on it for a bit. Like, like the idea around, you know, like the thought that like you haven't arrived yet. Like you know, you're maybe not where you want to be skill level yet. Like anybody that's out there that's creating anything, like maybe they're shy to do anything at all because they're just afraid of like judgment because they don't feel like they're there yet, or you know, they have it all together. Like, what's something like when you think about that, like what's a piece of encouragement that you would give to that person that's kind of like, I don't really want to do anything because I'm afraid of like judgment and like what people will say, but they have something to give and they have something to offer. What would you say to that person?
No, I love that. First thing I would say is you're not alone. Everyone feels that. Even someone that, you know, maybe studied something creative for years in college, I still feel, you know, shy. I'm a very shy person, or like you're not motivated or you're afraid of judgment. Just do it for yourself. That's the first step. If you love it and you really enjoy doing it, and it's not something that looks like it's right off of Pinterest, who cares? Post it anyway. And one day, if you keep doing that and you're consistent and still do something that you love, people will start to recognize that and notice it. And then from that, you know, maybe you will get a following base or whatever your goal is, Instagram or a company or something. But the first point to start is like feeling out and trying new things. And if you love it, just you know, I'm trying not to swear on this, but just effing do it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. I love it. Oh, okay. So that's hilarious. So we have the exact same cups. Like,
really?
like oh yeah. Like the little,
yeah.
like, yeah. We have the exact same cups in our kitchen. That's hilarious. I haven't seen anybody else with those. That's really
that's
cool.
funny. They're my favorite because they're not too big.
They're perfect.
Yep.
That's so cool. I had to just note that. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Like, it's like, you know, like we just can't be afraid to create. And like now I think is like the best time ever maybe to do that if you have time, you know, and a lot of people do have the time now because they're at home or whatever. So, and like I've been watching your page and I love the stuff that you're putting out.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And yeah, I just think it's a testament to what we've been talking about. Like, and that's an encouragement to other people too, that they're like, okay, well, maybe I can because she did or he did, or you know what I mean? So it's like, it's influencing it. And I think that like you'd be surprised about the people that are watching you and watching what you're doing and getting encouragement by it. Like maybe they haven't said anything yet, but like there's so many people that it's just like Instagram, right? Like there's so many people that will see your video or your photo. Yeah. They might not react, like, or comment, but it doesn't mean that it didn't touch them in a positive way. So I think that's really cool.
No, that's awesome. I agree. And everyone starts somewhere too, right? Like that's always a line I try to remember is like, you're not going to wake up one day and just be, you know, a Picasso or whatever field or musician or something. You got to start somewhere. And like, you know, like we said, if you love it, just do it and it'll turn into something and go the right way eventually.
Absolutely. So this kind of helps me segue into the next part of the question that I want to ask you, and I'm dying to know. So like, what are some examples of some ways that you've been adapting during this time, whether it be in building your brand, just as a professional overall? What are some things that you can share with us that how you've adapted during this time, and maybe some advice that you can offer to anyone listening?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, it's obviously been challenging, like it has been for everybody. They're very uncertain and strange times. But I think the best piece of advice is still get up and wake up every day, ready to go. Try to be as positive as you can. For me, because I used to do contract work, so I've kind of been in lulls where I didn't have, a purpose, so to speak. Just thinking of the people that are currently laid off. And it is hard because, it's so easy to get depressed or feel useless. But for me, get up at the same day, at the same time every day, have a routine, continue to use your calendar, pretend you're still going into the office or clinic or wherever you're working, as if, you were still continuing your day. So I find that helps me stay focused and positive. So I'll wake up, I'll still do my yoga, my yoga workout, go for a walk, have my coffee, get dressed. Maybe it's sweatpants, that's fine. But, wear whatever is comfortable for you and still show up. And then from there, I usually do a to-do list or a calendar and kind of figure out my day and section that off. So that's the forefront stuff that's been helping me. But as far as the brand, so Up High Design Co., it's funny, there was so much insecurity and just waiting, and I was researching and trying to prepare as much as I could for a really long time. But
Yeah.
when this pandemic happened, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it and see what happens. Like, whatever, I have ideas. I'm just going to spit them out and spend some time. And if it requires me staying up till 2 a.m. and I enjoy it, so be it. So that's kind of how it started, I guess. But I sat down and did like a strategic plan. And from a branding and design perspective, that's kind of like, your brand voice, have a little bit of a vision, whether that means you write it down bullet points or create a mood board, vision board, whatever. Like I went on splash.com and found a lot of photos just to kind of get a feel of what speaks to me and what would speak to my brand. And then kind of from there, I sketch things out. When I have ideas, I write them down. I'll try to put reminders in my phone, Fridays. I kind of finish my full-time job a little early, so I'll try to do one piece a week at least, or do a design a day. And that's kind of how I've kept busy, especially during these times, but not just during these times. I hope to obviously keep this up even after, COVID-19 has kind of come to an end. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. No, I love that. I love that. And like you just said something so key, which I think is a huge positive, like that we can take from all of this, which is like right now is like an opportunity to essentially, like anything that has like you've been holding back on in the past, like whatever the excuse was, like I don't have time or whatever, like people now they're just kind of, they're at the crossroads where it's like, okay, I either buckle down and do this or not. Mm-hmm. Right? Like which one is it going to be? So it's really, really cool, because I think some people are making that decision to just, what do I got to lose? And to your point, like they jump on it. And I love that, because it's like, and that's the brand. Like, I think people are like super concerned about always coming off as like the expert, and not enough people have the humility to just document the journey.
Yeah.
And I think people find a lot of value in people that like, they're not afraid to do that. Just like document what their journey is. And like I don't know all there is to know about my industry. I'm learning every day.
Oh, totally. That's the thing.
But I don't know everything. Like there's just some things on social media I won't talk about because I don't know enough about it to talk about. And that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's just that point of like, well, you got to start somewhere and documenting that journey. So I think that's amazing. And I think a lot of people are going to see some self-awareness around, it's never too early or late to start.
Definitely. And I think that's the beautiful thing. I agree. It's the journey, right? Very good, keyword there is especially as a creative, I hope that, even when I'm 85, I hope I'm still learning something every day. I plan on it. Then life is kind of boring if you're not, right? And that's, especially during these times, one really good angle to look at life. And, whether it's your career or just your personal life in general, it's, you want to keep moving and keep going. And not everything's going to be perfect. You're not always going to be an expert, and that is totally okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. So quick question. So obviously you moved to this area not too long ago. How are you liking being in the Quinte region so far?
I love it. I was lucky enough to have a contract with the Bay Quinte Marketing Board, which was a fantastic segue into moving into this area because they're tourism, right? So I learned a bunch about, the county and Quinte West and what differentiates that from even Brighton, which is now part of the region. Yeah, it has a lot to offer. It sounds bad, but I didn't really expect Belleville to be that exciting. But there's more here than I had thought. Because like growing up in Cobourg, which you're kind of in Northumberland area, you get there's so obviously Cobourg has the beach, so that's like just an easy feature in that town. But Belleville, there's the mall, but it's been more exciting, and I've actually connected and networked with more people than I did in Toronto, which blows my mind.
Wow,
really nice to realize.
Yeah, no, it's a really really neat community. And to your point, I don't think I've kind of always been rural, so I visit the city, but I've never lived there. But to your point, I've never done more networking than I have in this area.
Awesome.
And and the people that you meet, it's really cool because not everybody's from here. You'll meet people like yourself that was, maybe they're from Cobourg or from the city, and there's just a lot of different perspectives. But the general reason that kind of brings everybody here is just a way of life in a community that they just undeniably can't and don't want to avoid. So it's really really cool that way.
Yeah, I agree. And we have a really strong sense of pride. Everyone that, works with Belleville or the community in some ways, tries so hard to make it a better place all the time, which I think is awesome. And there's a lot of entrepreneurs and tourism, and the restaurants and the wineries. It's got so much more than, I said, I expected.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. So another question that I have for you is just around entrepreneurship and having the gig that you have right now with eCourt, and then having the side gig with your business. How have you managed that? And what is what is, because no, I think this is gonna be valuable for anybody listening, because there's a lot of people that kind of have they have a main thing that they're doing, and then they have a side thing. But I think the intent is to make the side thing the actual thing long term. So tell me kind of your thought process around that. What is something that you could offer as advice or something to somebody that is looking for that? Because I think it's a real thing that a lot of people are in the middle of, and I think it's cool.
Totally.
Because it's it's all a part of the journey, to your point.
Yeah, well, I mean, first off, it's definitely not easy. So anyone that is doing it right now, kudos to you, because it is hard, right? I do 40 plus hours a week full time sometimes for eCourt, and then there's nights where I want to work on an icon package or an illustration, and I'm exhausted. But you got to, like I said, keep writing down those goals, and keep the vision in mind, to Up High Design Co. I do want it to be kind of my full-time gig eventually. That is the plan right now. It's maybe a side hustle, but my vision is to, keep it going and growing it. Whether it stays online or it does end up being a physical studio, that's fine. But I think that's what keeps me motivated for sure. But secondly, I'm lucky enough that my full-time job kind of is in the creative field, even though it is in real estate, and might appear dry sometimes. I actually
Mm.
learn a ton, and I kind of pull what I learn and those experiences into my side gig. So I'm very lucky in that way that like right now I'm doing like a CRM and email marketing, campaign from scratch, which I've never done before. Which I
Cool.
like, even my boss, even like he knows all about this too. It's another thing. It's not like my side hustle is hush hush. Um, like that might be a service that I can offer to my clients in the future, right? So I try to look at that as a positive as well. I'm still learning. I'm trying to get the experience. I'm also paying bills, of course, and trying to save money, so that my side gig does become the full time thing, as you said in the end.
I love what you said there too about like pulling from like what you're currently doing at eCourt towards your business. Like I think that's
Yeah.
phenomenal, and I think that's really valuable for anybody listening too. Like don't just kind of write off like your experience as like, because like a lot of people I think like they're impatient and they just like
Oh, yeah.
they just want to be where they want to be.
And
Like
I am totally, I definitely do that all the time still. Like, don't get me wrong. It's so easy to be like, oh God, I just want this to be over with, and I don't want to be a bartender anymore, right? Like
it's
I've been
real.
there too. So
Yeah, no, it's
even
real
that
stuff.
job you can pull from, right? Like I think my customer service skills are like phenomenal because I worked in sales and bartending for so many years. It's like nothing's ever a waste of time. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Like it's, and again, I've had, I don't know, like countless jobs before, like the job that I have now, but like
Mhm.
every single one of them, like impacted me in some way that helped me towards like what I'm doing now. And
Yeah.
I think that's really good value. And I'm so glad that you shared that because I think that's going to help somebody that's
Mhm.
like, they're just kind of sitting there in that moment and they have that moment of, oh, I wish I was here, instead of like just thinking about, okay, well, what I'm supposed to learn something here. Maybe what can I learn from this experience so it can help prepare me for
Mhm.
what's to come next. And that gets me pumped up because I just think like whatever hardship or dirt that you're in right now, like any of us, like it's preparing us for something big. And sometimes the bigger the dirt, that means the bigger the opportunity that's going to come out of
Totally.
it, which
Yeah.
gets me super excited.
You'll be more resilient and stronger in whatever field that you're trying to, move towards in the end. And everyone, it's, yeah, patience, patience, patience. And I have to even write this down on a mirror for myself because everyone does it. But I remember being in college and thinking that, like, "Oh, God, I just want to be done and working as a designer." It's like, why? Just enjoy that you're learning something right now, right? But it's so easy to say that.
Yeah, and to your point, Sky, like I think like that's something that us as individuals, like we just have to remind ourselves like every day. Like it's not, I don't think it's default in anybody to think
Mhm.
that way. Like I think we have to like almost train our brain to respond to that and recognize it for what it is when it comes up. And that's
Yeah.
I just think that's life. Like it's,
Mhm.
you deal with it as it comes. But yeah, I think that's super valuable. And somebody definitely needs to hear that because I know like I got something from that for sure.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So okay, so another kind of thing that I want to touch on is just so we talked a little bit about like working from home and that adjustment, because a lot of people, there's some people that they hate working from home. Like I got team members right now, like that are struggling. Like
Yeah.
they thrive off the in-office environment, the collaboration, meeting with team members face to face, and they're struggling as a result because they don't have that. They're kind of forced to do Zoom meetings or Google Hangouts or whatever. So,
Yeah.
what's like, talk a little bit about your experience so far with that, and maybe some advice that you would offer to somebody that's had to make that transition, but it's maybe not like their first choice.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a first choice for a lot of people. Like you and I, we like working from home, but I've done it before, and I kind of picked design and advertising so that I could work from home too. That could always be an option if in
That's
my back
cool.
pocket if I needed it, right?
Nice.
But yeah, it's tough. But I mean, some golden rules, I guess, is just try to communicate as much as you can with people, even though it's not the same. You're not in person. You're not getting that, water cooler chat in between meetings that you normally would with your colleagues, and the laughing. Pick up the phone every day and talk to your boss and be like, hey, have I missed anything? The Zoom meetings aren't fantastic. Not everyone's internet is great, but just be grateful that technology has come so far in this last decade that we are able to survive and get through kind of a pandemic like this. We are still able to continue conducting business. It's different, but we still can get through things. It's just adapting to change is always those the types of people and businesses that can adapt to change really quickly are the ones that are going to be successful and come out stronger in the end. So keep those things in mind. It is, it's hard for sure, but continue to exercise, drink lots of fluids, like also those golden rules. Like I said, I've been exercising even more now that I'm working at home.
That's awesome.
Which is funny how that works, right? But it's just that push, and for people that are really struggling, there is this, actually, I'm going to pull it up quick because I don't want to say it wrong. The Pamerola? The time management tool. I'll send it to you actually after, Josh.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's kind of like a time management tool where you actually write down all your tasks for the day and then you time yourself. Now, at first glance, that might seem like, oh my God, my anxiety. But it does actually help. You write down what you're going to do, you put on the timer, you're focused. So you do everything that you need to do, and then the timer goes off, you take a break. Go stretch, go grab a coffee, eat some proper food, not ice cream or cake out of the fridge, which if you're doing that, that's fine. But just thinking all the things I've been seeing on Facebook during the quarantine, it's funny. And then, sit back down into your home office, whatever space that may be, and set the timer for the next task. That kind of ensures a lot more focus, motivation, and you're still working not harder but smarter during difficult times. Yeah. But,
Love that.
yeah,
That's like super practical. Super practical. No, I think that's great. Yeah, and like a lot of it's like I feel like attitude is like half the battle.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's half the battle. Like if your attitude's just not, like if you've just already decided that this sucks and there's nothing good that can come out of this, like at all, like it's all like, then it's like it's already a loss. But
Mm-hmm.
to your point, like if you take the opportunity and you say, okay, well, how can we adjust? Like, how do we set up our schedule so that we still have purpose and we still, have things to contribute, even if we're not working right now, which a lot of people aren't.
Yep.
And that's like, how can we make the best of the situation? And I always go back to some advice that somebody gave me, and it's like, like any situation that you're in, if like, just take a moment and picture a situation that's worse.
Yeah.
And then and think like, okay, like this is terrible, and it is what it is, but just think about the other side, and just work towards that as best as you can. And we're all, and that's how everybody's trying to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think about the front line workers that are in there every day, and oh my goodness, they're doing a phenomenal job with that. And same thing for them. They got to take it in stride, and
Yep.
okay, they're think of the other side, and how am I going to make it through? Just kind of take it a day at a time. So it's there's so much going on, and I think attitude is a huge thing, to just perspective. Like It's either you're either going to see it one way or you're going to see it another way. But what way can you see it and see it where there's there's at least some hope in the situation?
Yeah. And that's it. It's like, and it's also so easy for some people, because I can already hear the pushback, like, oh, it's so easy to be positive. It's like, that's not the point, though. And I agree. Like, I mean, kind of different topic, but for someone that's kind of struggled with depression for years, I totally get that. It's very hard to stay positive, especially during these times. I'm lucky enough that I am still working from home. But for someone that, is in isolation and is laid off, how do you always keep motivated and stick to a routine when you have nothing to do, right? And it's definitely challenging, but you do have to still wake up, force yourself, get through the day, pick up tasks that, maybe, and just be grateful for the little things too, which is a really important thing that I would like to add. Take a step back and look at, I have a gorgeous house, or I love my cat. Like, it sounds so ridiculous, but just like that easy level stuff sometimes gets you through a hard day, right?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the key word that you just said was gratitude. That's like, I love this topic, because it's like, that is like the mantra of, I just think anything positive in this world that anybody does, I think comes from a place of gratitude. Yeah. I really do. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because like, how can you get through something like this when everything around you feels dark? And like, the only way I know how is gratitude. Like, just looking at like what I do have, like, my family around me, the home that we live in, or like looking at those things around me, the important things, and saying like, we're going to make it through this. Yeah.
Or, bake a dozen cookies or something, right? It sounds, to some people, it might sound so silly and simple, but for some people, it's really not, right? Like, that's a little victory that'll go a long way in the end.
Absolutely. And I love the little things, because like the little moments is like what brings like a lot of joy to an individual, like I get a lot of joy out of baking ginger molasses cookies. I love making ginger molasses cookies, so I get a lot of joy out of doing that.
Love it.
Yeah. Are you a baker?
I like to think so. Yeah, I'm not, no Martha Stewart, but
what's your favorite thing to bake?
Oh, pie for sure.
Nice.
Apple pie, classic. Yeah.
That's like my second favorite dessert of all time.
Oh.
The first is apple crisp.
Yeah, I like a good old apple crisp too, especially Christmas dinner. Now I'm hungry.
That's awesome. No, I think that's great. And I don't want to go too much longer, but Skye, I just want to say thank you so much for having this talk. I think it was really, really insightful and helpful for a lot of people. And thank you just kind of, for sharing and opening up about your own situation and how you're working through things. I think the more we share that, I think the more, people it'll just resonate with them, and they're like, yeah, if that person can share, then I need to, feel comfortable and share. And that's, to me, that's therapeutic. I really believe it's like therapeutic, and I try to do it as much as I possibly can. One more time, please, just drop your deets for anybody that may want to get a hold of you after this. Where can they find you?
So, Up High Design Co. on Instagram and Facebook. Shoot me a message if you just want to chat, learn more. And definitely, if you know a frontline worker, send me their superhero photos. I want to give them big, huge applause. And thank you, Josh. This was lots of fun. And yeah, the more we can do this and use, the technology that we have, the better.